What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Hazed, and I am back with another video. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the Wilds Unknown pre-release. If you're like me, I'm sure you can't wait to get your hands on the Wilds Unknown cards. I'm going to go over what a pre-release is, the synergies to look for within this set, some of the bombs that I think if you see you need to put in your deck, and I'm going to talk about just some basic, consistent rules to follow while you're playing a sealed format. So check it out. Some of you may be coming into this video thinking, what is a pre-release? So I want to go over that a little bit for you because Lorcana hasn't had an official pre-release kit put out before Wilds Unknown. So what a pre-release is a sealed event where you're going to get a kit of 6 booster packs and 1 special promo card. You're going to use those 6 packs to make your 40 card deck using any colors you want, which is different than the normal 2 color limit that we have in Lorcana. And you're going to compete to typically win more booster packs on how many wins you get for that night. It's a lot more casual format. It's very fun. You're getting to play with new cards and getting to try these new mechanics and hopefully trade for some of that chase card you're looking for. So going to a pre-release, what I would say to bring, make sure you have a new pack of sleeves, a pen and paper to take notes, and obviously some dice to keep track of damage counters and stuff like that. Next, we're going to get into some of the synergies that we're going to see within the Wilds Unknown set. Synergies. We're going to tackle the part of this video where we get into different synergies that we see within the Wilds Unknown set and how you can build your deck that's going to benefit you the most with what cards you're given. Before we really get into this, I want to give a huge shout out to Ravensburger and their design team because this set in a limited format is absolutely incredible. You'll see as we go through some of these cards that even though it's a toy, it can be part of a toy package or it can just be good on its own. And that's really what I want to talk to you about when we go through each of these synergies, because you could throw all the toy cards that you have within your 6 packs and play it that way, but there may be some cards that you have that are better. So you got to kind of evaluate that as a whole and what your 6 packs look like to give you the best path forward and what's going to give you the most synergies. So starting off, I want to talk about some of the cards that benefit the most from multiple toys in your deck. And that's going to be, Jesse's probably number 1. Jesse says whenever this character quests, if you have 2 or more other toy characters in play, you may draw a card. And also her second effect, whenever you pay 2 or less to play a card, chosen opposing character gets -1 attack until the start of your next turn. Jesse's really good. Really good. Whether you're playing the toy package or not, she gets way better when you're playing more toys, but minusing attack is very important in sealed because a lot of banishing or removing of threats is done by combat. So being able to have a pretty consistent combat trick from Jesse is nice, giving that -1. And you can also stack it. So if you play two things that are 2 or less, you can -2 attack on a 1 character. The one that I would say is probably a little more fringe because if you don't have Woody's or Jesse's Bullseye, 3 cost 4/3 is kind of on rate. So if you're able to play him on 2, it's really good, but there's really only one option, and that's the Woody here, to be able to get him on curve for turn 2. Other than that, I don't think it's a super good card unless you have a bunch of other toy synergies in the deck. I do want to talk about some of the cards that I think are just good, whether they're toys or not. RC, pretty good card, 1 cost, 3/2. You have to pay 1 to either get him to quest or challenge. It's an overstated body for a turn 1 play. This is, again, toy or not, pretty good card. Ham, same thing. If he was a toy or not, you're able to ramp, so you could pay 1 less if you tap him. Basically playing a 4 cost character on turn 3. It's a little difficult because there's not a whole lot of bodyguards in this set, so he's probably gonna get banished when he does do that. But if your 4 cost is that impactful that you can do it early, or you wait and it's a 5 cost, wait a turn or something like that, it could be a game swinging play, a tempo swing. But yeah, that is also a good card. But you can really throw a bunch of these cards together and you would have an insane deck if you got a bunch of toys. But again, going to the synergy part of it, it doesn't take a toy to make the card that much better. There's only a few that really need an exact toy. So again, Woody, we'll talk about the 4 cost Woody. When you play this character, look at the top 4 cards, reveal a toy character or a location named Andy's room, put it in your hand. So if you're not playing a bunch of toys, you don't want to play this card. Sid Phillips, kind of the same. You want to banish a toy character to gain 2 lore whenever on your turn, but he also has his first effect that you can banish another chosen character of yours, and then your opponent has to choose and banish one of their characters. So it's like a Lady Tremaine effect, but you have to banish one of yours as well. So he's still good without having a bunch of toys. Buzz is good without having toys. If you've got a friend in me, you're going to want toys to play this card because you don't want it to brick. You don't want to pay 3 or sing it for 3 and have it miss. So that one I'd probably be a skip unless you had a bunch of toys. Piece of Planet's kind of close. Again, if you have a bunch of toys, it just inherently gets better. I think both Uninkable Woodies and Uninkable Buzz you should totally play if you open them. Really every legendary in this set. Well, when we go to more of the generic strategies, we'll talk about that. Every legendary is worth playing in this set. But I know we spent a lot of time on toys, so I'm going to switch over to the next archetype or synergies that we see within the Wilds Unknown set. And that's going to be the super synergies. There is a bunch here, a lot of good supers. Again, you have these incredible cards that on their own are good, but when you add the super text or super characteristic on top of it, it makes them that much better. So you have these different playlines that you're able to find. Hercules shouldn't be in here, so for excuse me for that. Frozone, perfect example. 2 cost 2/2 evasive is not bad at all in limited, whether he said super or not. I mean, the 2/2 that's questing every turn is solid. When we get into the different synergies, you're going to see Jack Jack. Let's talk about Jack Jack. Jack Jack is just a house in limited. If you happen to find more locations, he gets that much better because removal is such a premium in sealed that you want to add as many locations as you can if you're playing Jack Jack, because if you do flip a location off of the top, it banishes a character, and that will just straight up win you the game a lot of the time. Miss Incredible, another one that is just good, whether she was a super or not. She's a strong card that you can make evasive. 5/6 evasive is no joke, and then when you're ready to get across the finish line, she can switch to have extra lore for that turn. So good card there, inkable, flexible. Mr. Incredible, also pretty good card. It does have a little bit of super synergy where it says whenever one of your super character challenges another character, draw a card. But he also gets +2 attack for each other character you have in play. And again, we talked about the legendaries. Every legendary is pretty solid to play on its own. I don't think you're going to have any issues there. Same thing with Miss Incredible. She gives all your characters resist +1. And like we mentioned earlier, so much combat is done within pre-releases. She is solid to add to any deck, whether it's super or not. Leviathan's not supposed to be in here either, so I'm not even going to talk about that one. Super synergy would be Mirage. In order, when you play her, if you have a super or hero character in play, you may draw a card. So you would think that this is limiting because it says super or hero, but there are so many heroes. And drawing a card, like I mentioned before, is very solid. So she's a little bit less than on rate for a 4 cost, but being able to draw a card is super important. Dash, good card, whether it was super or not. The one that you're going to want a lot of supers if you're going to play is going to be Super Suit. I would not play this card unless you have 7, 8 supers in your deck, because in order to draw that card, you have to play a hero character. Oh, I'm sorry. So this actually is not bad because you can play it's just a hero character. I thought this was super the whole time. I might be a little better than I thought, because you can probably build a deck that's 50% heroes. Honestly, there's so many heroes within the set, and getting an item down that draws you a card every turn, even though it does cost 2 to set up and then 2 to tap and draw, it still could be worth it. This actually is better than I thought it was. It is uninkable, so a little flex there. But we'll move on to the last synergy we have, and that would be the Madrigal. I love a lot of these cards. I think they're very fun to play. I like sequencing. Sequencing is really important when you're playing stuff that heals, because you need to damage something to then be able to heal it, to then be able to get the effect that you want on some of the cards. So we talked about drawing being super good. The first one that says draw a card is Peppa. When you play this character, you deal 1 damage to each of your other characters, and then once during your turn, whenever you remove 1 or more damage from one of your characters, draw a card. Louisa, when she uses her effect, removing counts as, healing pretty much. So if you pull both Peppa and Louisa, you're playing those cards, for sure. Really, Luisa, you're playing no matter what because she's able to kind of get removal, pseudo removal every turn if you're able to get damage on some of your characters. But you want to find some stuff that does damage as well if you're really going to take off. Casa Madrigal, I think, is just a good card in general because, like we mentioned, so many things are taking damage from combat that you have damage just sitting on your characters a lot. So being able to quest and then heal those characters back up is pretty solid on its own. Another big bomb I would say within these synergies would be Alma. I think Alma's really good because when you do remove one damage from a character, you're able to exert chosen opposing character. So if you're able to find a lot of these pieces, it could really just take off. And again, a lot of these synergies, so not to really set a whole tangent here, but a lot of synergies are more for draft to where you're really picking what you're able to play within your deck. Where sealed, you're just getting your 6 packs, and whatever those packs end up being, you're just going to build off of that. But I wanted to at least bring to attention some of the synergies that are out there, so you know what to look to when you are opening your 6 packs. Like, hey, I got a couple Madrigals, can I make this work? What else is out there? Am I really using my resources the best that I can be doing? So that's what I wanted to talk about here for the synergy piece. I'm going to move into the top 5 bombs outside of legendaries that we have in this set that I think for sealed that if you see in your pull rate or your pool that you're going to want to add to your deck. So let's get to that next. All right, we are back with some of what I believe are the best cards that you can add to your pre-release deck. And my rules for this were I wanted to stay away from legendaries because if you open a legendary, chances are you are throwing it into your deck no matter what. Same thing with super rares. They're both just very, very good cards that, looking through the card pool that we got in this set, like you're gonna add those cards almost no matter what. So I wanted to kind of highlight some that I think are less obvious on how good they are. So, and the first one I'm going to start with, and you may see this on the screen and be like, wait, what? Minnie Mouse? Really? You think that that's actually good enough? And yes, because it's inkable, 1-drops are not played all the time and sealed because you kind of want to get to that 4 or 5 ink and then stop. So a lot of your deck is filled with 4 or 5 ink characters. And to get there, you have to ink a card per turn. So if you ink a card and play a card, ink a card, play a card, ink a card, play a card, you're going to be out of cards and not be able to play those 5 or 6 drops that you have in your deck. So a lot of times you'll see people ink turn 1 pass. So if you have a Minnie Mouse and you have a strategy that you can be a little more aggressive, this card fits that strategy very well because you're going to be playing a lot of characters, and if you're going first, she's able to get 4 lore pretty often. Because if your opponent does skip a 1-drop or they don't have one, this card can get under a lot of other decks that you may see. So she's been very good for me. I think a lot of the Traveler cards are worth a second look if you have some in your pool, but Minnie Mouse shines. Number 2, this one's I think pretty obvious. Babyhead is insane. Again, it says those words, draw a card on it, and when we see that, you have to take a double take at the card and reevaluate. This one is just very good. It's going to make your opponent want to not quest at all because they don't want you to be able to banish your characters and draw cards. So it also, can buff. So it makes some crazy trades. It's like Headless Horseman that draws cards sometimes. It's a very cool card. I think it's even better in constructed, but in sealed, this one is a house. So I would, if you do pull any of these, I would definitely add them to your deck, whether you're playing toys or not. Firefly Swarm. I'll be honest, there was a lot of red cards that I wanted to add to this list. I think I put 3 because they're very good. They're all uninkable, to be honest with you, but they're all very, very strong cards. So I did want to bring them up. Firefly Swarm, super strong because again, removal is not that common in sealed. So being able to find removal in this does that. You're able to remove something with 2 attack or less right off the bat. But if you have 2 or more other cards put into your discard this turn, you can banish any character. So think of Dragonfire pretty much. This is a very strong card. And again, if you play a card, like another action, that counts as one of your cards going into your discard. So like swing a card in, like maybe trades with something and then playing an action and then playing this, boom, you're wiping their whole board. So Firefly Swarm has been very, very impressive to me, and I would definitely add it to your decks. 3 arrows, again, along the same lines. It is one of those cards that adds removal, and we don't have a lot of options there. So I'm just a good card. A lot of evasives and different threats are only at that 2 damage mark or 2 health mark. So this hits them well. It can also help you create some trades that are more beneficial than your opponent might have originally thought because they're not playing around this card. So yeah, I think this is also a good card. It's also flexible because it's inkable. So this one definitely makes it into my top cards to add to your deck. This one has been really good for me. Gyro Evac. It is a inherently good card throughout the whole game. And then once you get... Now, realize it says each player loses 2 lore. So you're losing 2 lore as well if you do happen to banish this and use that effect. But if you're able to get to the board where you're gaining slow gain of tempo to where you're getting a character but you're banishing theirs every turn or something like that, and they're about to win, they're on 18, and you have to pop this to give yourself one more turn. I've won games like that, but really what we're looking at here is the fact that you can give something evasive until the start of your turn every turn. This is really good for some of those high questing cards or some of those big bodies that your opponent just can't interact with. It's a very, very good item and something that I would be looking to add to my deck if you happen to pull this in your sealed pull. So I did want to add one card that is part of the super rares where I said, hey, you're probably going to play these or legendaries, so I didn't really want to go over a bunch of those, but I do want to talk about this because if you're looking at this at face value, you may not think it's good enough. If you haven't played sealed before, you may not think it's good enough. But the way that sealed works is you end up getting to a point where you are top decking very, very often. So you're almost never playing this on 2, like ever. But you're playing at late game to buy back a card that was helping you win the game early on, or really whatever you need to get at that point, because this card in your hand, if you don't have a hand, you're just getting a card for free. So it's a 2 cost, it's uninkable, I know, but think of it more as a late game 2 cost action that grabs a card from your graveyard that you want to use, because it is any card. It's not a character, it's not an action, it's whatever fits your scenario. This card's great. It really helps, you know, if you have to get across the finish line, you need an extra lore burst or something like that. Yeah, Hercules is good. I would definitely play it. And now I just want to go over some, I kind of hit on a few strategies that you're going to be looking for, but I want to go over just some broad strategies that you can do within sealed. All right. Hopefully you guys have made it this far, and if you have, I appreciate you. I'm just going to go over some, you know, consistent strategies that you can use within your pre-release to have success. I'm also going to have some closing thoughts after that, and you know, you guys will be on your way. So a couple things I want to talk about again for when you're building your sealed deck is 5 to 6 uninkables, right? Like a lot of the cards that you're going to see that are strong are going to be uninkable. I wouldn't recommend playing more than 5 or 6 because, again, you're trying to ink every turn to get to that 4 or 5 area, 4 or 5 ink area to where you want the bulk of your deck to be, because you're going to sit there and there's a lot of board stalls and you want to have these beefy characters that you can use to help swing the tempo in your favor. Unless you go, look, that could change completely if you have a deck sealed pool of a bunch of cards that quest for 2, and you're able to just get under all those strategies that may be trying to play more for that mid or late game. So this is all just rule of thumb. Your card pool could be completely different than what I'm recommending here, but I would recommend to play a high density of 4 or 5 drops. That's where a lot of the bread and butter of these decks are going to be. A lot of the good cards that we see within the set are 4 or 5 drops. Even 3s are pretty solid as well. I would play a very small amount of 1 drops, especially like actual characters, because the last thing you want is to top deck like a 1 cost card that quests for 1 that's like a 2/2. That basic vanilla card, you probably don't want that unless it has synergy in other areas within your deck. Play your legendaries, play your super rares. The only legendary I probably wouldn't play would be Kita, just because she's an 8 cost, and then by the time you get her out, your opponent's going to be able to ramp 5 as well, and that's probably not going to really help you too much. I mean, her effect is not bad to be able to look at 2 cards, but she'd be the only legendary that I would maybe not consider playing, but she still probably makes it anyways. Evasive is good, so play your evasives. Some opponents won't have any preparation for evasive because they're just playing the cards they want to play, and that's fine. But evasives can just kind of go over the top and get that chip away at lore throughout the whole game, and then all of a sudden you're at 20. And lastly, this is the most important piece: have fun. I know we talked about trying to be as competitive as possible and trying to win those extra packs, but look, a pre-release is about enjoying the set with people, enjoying these new synergies that Ravensburger has created, getting to see some of your favorite cards finally make it into Lorcana, like your Incredibles and the Toy Story characters. So really just enjoy that. Let me know what you guys pull in your pre-release kits, because I would love to see it. Thank you for sticking through this video. I want to give one shout out to my sponsors, Triad Group. I'm going to go ahead and have some links on the bottom to show to their store. And we'll see you on the next video. Take care, guys. Be safe.